And we are back for our daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. And yes, we're finally back to the normal setup here again on November 30th, the final day of November. And of course, we've got college basketball. Even though it is college football day, we still got some college basketball being played here on Saturday. I'll be honest, the slate is a little bit weaker now, obviously, with Feast Week officially being over for the most part. Obviously, the big game today, Oregon, Alabama, but the big name teams aren't as much in play today, but it's fine. We still have some small school college basketball that we are going to take advantage of today, and we're going to try to turn some profit with. So, folks, if you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 20,000 here on the channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. We are going to be doing some sort of giveaway when we hit 20,000 subscribers, probably on Instagram, so that's linked in the description down below as well. So follow me over there on IG. Again, we'll get that giveaway going in some capacity eventually on Instagram as well. So again, daily college basketball best bets continue here on the channel every single day, along with our daily NBA predictions as well here on the channel. Also, our college football predictions have been posted on the channel earlier this week. Obviously, the games are today, but again, that video is still up on the channel, along with our NFL predictions as well. Let's get into our first game here. We go to Coastal Carolina taking on and hosting their opponents here. Obviously, we are talking about South Carolina Upstate here in Conway, South Carolina. Not a tournament game, not an invitational game. No, the game is straight up just being played at Coastal Carolina at Myrtle Beach, and we like the Chants at home here. They're getting 6.5 points in this game against South Carolina Upstate. And again, we said it earlier, we're going to be, looking at some more small school college basketball for this video, just because, again, some of the big schools are playing. Obviously, like Wisconsin's hosting Chicago State, a team they're favored to beat by 35.5 points. Marquette's, against Western Carolina. Marquette's favored to win that game by 33.5 points. Kansas against Furman. Kansas is getting 21.5, right? Houston versus San Diego State. I thought about doing that one, but still don't like the 12.5 point line either way. I did think about UConn, Maryland, Eastern Shore because of the way UConn just played in Maui, but I'm going to stay away from all that, and we're going to take some competitive basketball games here. And the first one we like, again, is Coastal Carolina versus South Carolina Upstate. Why? SCU is absolutely horrible. South Carolina Upstate is 2-7 this season. Their only wins are over 2 NIAA schools. Their losses: Iowa, Queens, Eastern Tennessee, UNC Wilmington, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, NC State. Now, yes, they did play Wake Forest pretty competitively over there in North Carolina by 5 points earlier this season, but what have you done recently? Okay, SCU lost by 11 points to ETSU, lost to Queens by 24 points, and lost to Iowa by 40, 50-ish points as well. This is not that good of a basketball team. They give up a lot of points. Now, the Chanticleers, are they the best team? No. But I still like what we get out of the Chanticleers more than what we get out of South Carolina Upstate. For one, again, the game is in Conway, South Carolina. That's a plus. Two, Coastal Carolina can score and they can win basketball games, and they beat by far the better competition compared to South Carolina Upstate. Coastal's beat Western Michigan this season. They've beat IU, Indianapolis. Their losses: East Carolina, North Carolina State, Jacksonville State, and a loss to Alabama A&M in their last one. But still, I do think the Chanticleers are the better basketball team. Rasheed Jones leads this team in points currently with 13.5 a game. You're going to get 11 a game as well out of Denzel Hines. For this SC Upstate squad, Mr. Dean, I kid you not, his name is Mr. Dean, is their leading scorer. He's giving them 18 points a night so far this season. The 6'6 guard for USCU. South Carolina Upstate, Britt Harris and Carmani Gregory also will give you 11 points a game for the South Carolina Upstate team. But again, just the way we look at this as well, again, you get a team from the Big South and not a particularly good team out of the Big South either in South Carolina Upstate. This is a team that went 5-11 in conference play last season, taking on a team out of the Sun Belt. Now again, make what you want out of the Sun Belt with college basketball, and yes, the Chants went 5-13 last year in the Sun Belt Conference, which is fine. I still like the Chanticleers to win this basketball game. Look at what both these teams have done recently and tell me that Coastal Carolina is not going to beat the crap out of South Carolina Upstate in this basketball game. Exactly. The Chanticleers are the much better team. Expect a performance like they had against IU Indianapolis a week ago Friday, where they win the game by 14 points. Expect something like that. We like the Chants to take care of business at home and to blow out their in-state rivals. Next up, we go to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for Lee versus Marist. Yes, we are really expanding here into our small school basketball. I know. But guys, this is where I see the best value for today. Give me Marist to go to Lee and win the basketball game. Yes, we are taking the 4-1 Marist Red Foxes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know where Marist is. So let's find out together. Let's go on here real quick. Nope. Let's go here. We're just going to find out together, guys. And we're going to see what happens. Ready? Boom. Oh, that's Townsend. Hold on. Let's find out where Marist is, guys. Okay. It's a private nonprofit in Poughkeepsie, New York. 85% graduation rate, 63 acceptance rate. I didn't want to see that, but okay. So they are a Catholic school in New York. You learn something new every single day, obviously. But you get even odds in this basketball game, and we like Marist to beat Lee. Why? Marist has been the better team this season. Lee, out the Patriot League, which is not a good conference. They are the worst team right now in the Patriot League. I remember watching them play last year. It was one of those games, now I lived on the East Coast last year, or I guess in the Midwest, but we were on, East Coast time. So, when you're trying to gamble on stuff, right? Hear me out. You're trying to gamble and stuff. We're trying to gamble on games, right? I get out of class. It's like 4 o'clock, right? But normally the NBA starts at 7:30. But you see a 5:30 start time, 2:30 out here on the West Coast. You see a 5:30 start time, and you say, "Hey, there's something to bet on. I have something to do now," which sounds so degenerate, and I swear I did more when I was, over there in good old Bloomington, my freshman year of college. Trust me, I did a lot more than that. But, you have some of those days where you just need something to do. So I see a 5:30 start time. I'm going to bet on a Lee versus Army game, and I hammered Army to beat Lee. And that's my lasting memory of Lee. And yes, Army did win the basketball game. It was some horrible Patriot League play that I watched. It was the first time they played that season. Army went to Lee for that basketball game. Army ended up winning it. And then I decided to double down the next time those two teams played at West Point. And then Lee won. But still, I don't care. My lasting impression is that first game I watched between Lee and Army. Anyways, very random sidetrack, but still, guys, Lee's 1-5 this season at the Patriot League. A 50-point loss to Northwestern, an 8-point loss to Georgetown, a 1-point loss at Columbia, a 40-point loss at UCLA. Their only win is over Valley Forge, and then a 10-point loss in their last game to St. Francis, Pennsylvania. It's not a good basketball team, this Lee squad. They're just not. Again, the Patriot League already unimpressive, but then you get one of the worst teams in the Patriot League. Their leading scorer is going to be Keith Higgins Jr. is averaging 18.5 points a night. But for Marist, again, a 4-1 basketball team, and say what you want about Marist, but again, lost to Harvard their first game. It is what it is. Beat Richmond on the road. Again, they will have to go on the road at Lee in this basketball game, but they've shown capability of beating not a good Richmond team, but a mediocre 500 basketball team in Richmond. They go on the road, beat them by 7 points. They beat Army in overtime. They beat Dartmouth, and they just came off a victory over New Hampshire last week. I don't mind this Marist team at all. I might be pronouncing wrong. It might be Marist, I ain't gonna lie. But we're gonna pick them to win this basketball game. And no, this is not because I am obsessed with the Red Foxes. It's just I think Lee is absolutely horrible. And I think if we get even money on any game that Lee plays, guys, we're going to fade them. Give me Marist to win this basketball game. Again, -1.5, +1.5, wherever you get it. But again, you're taking the money line here. Obviously, -110 for the Marist Red Fox. Marist Red Foxes. Let's get it done. -110. Hit them up on the money line here. Next up, we go on to our good friends over here in Kent, Ohio. Again, there's a running joke we had basically with college football predictions this year. Pick against Kent State. Hell, it was my favorite bet of the week. And if you watched the videos earlier this week, you knew I loved the Buffalo Bulls to take care of business and cover the 22.5 points they were getting against the Kent State Golden Flashes in football this week. And obviously what happened, Buffalo blew them out the water. Now, and by the way, shout out to CJ Akbana and Victor Snow. We love Buffalo Bulls football. I'm excited to see where they go in the bowl season. They're probably going to play, I don't know, the Camellia Bowl, and we're going to cheer them on. Regardless, we've got Kent State here again, who we obviously one of the worst college football teams in the country. They went 0-12, but we like them in basketball a lot. Now, we stayed away yesterday, obviously, for good reason. They were playing the UC Irvine Anteaters, and of course, we weren't going to pick against the Anteaters. We love the Anteaters here on the channel. That's a team that, again, we pick UC Irvine a lot. I wasn't going to pick against Kent State, so we picked Kent State the last two previous games before the Irvine game, and their wins over Cleveland State on the road, and their win over Towson by 11 points. And yes, we will mention Irvine and Towson later on in the video. We will have something on their game coming up later. But we really like what Kent State's been doing this season. Again, sure, they got completely shut down against Irvine yesterday, but you know what? UC Irvine does that to a lot of teams. Hell, Kent State only scored 39 points in that game. They lost it 51-39. Their leading scorer on the season is Von Cameron Davis, but their leading scorer last night against Irvine was Delreco Gillespie, who's averaging 5 points a game. He led their team in scoring yesterday against Irvine with 9 points. But again, I feel fine with Kent State in this basketball game, and sure, Kennesaw hasn't been bad either. If you want to play numbers, okay, well, hell, the Golden Flashes beat Towson by 12 points, and Kent State just beat them yesterday by 4 points. I know that doesn't mean everything. And now, obviously, you could look right back at Kennesaw's game against Irvine. Well, they lost Irvine by 15. Actually, how much did the Golden Flashes lose by 12? So, Kent State's got him beat there. But again, we're not going to pick based on win-loss margins, okay? And I get it. Kennesaw State has beat Rutgers this season. They went to Rutgers in a bye game for the Scarlet Knights, and the Scarlet Knights ended up losing it. I just think Kent State has the better overall team. I think they play the better defense, and I do think Von Cameron Davis, again, after an off night last night, is due for a bigger performance here. I just think, again, as a whole, the Kent State Golden Flashes are a better team than Kennesaw State. I think, again, Kennesaw State's schedule this year, I've seen them lose to Cal Baptist. They had close games against, Albany Christian, Towson. They had to go to overtime with Towson, which I don't think Townsend's a good squad. I don't think they are, right? So that's just where I'm putting Kennesaw State right now. Again, if you want to compare the CUSA to the MAC, I would take the MAC. Kennesaw was not good last season. They were not in the MAC, though. They were in, what, were they in the A-10 last year? Not the A-10, the Atlantic Sun, I believe. I think they were the Atlantic Sun. Yeah, because they used to be Atlantic Sun with Liberty. But regardless, I don't really like what Kennesaw's got going on this year. They have their little West Coast trip coming up later in December where they go on to play at Santa Clara and at San Jose State. Best believe we're going to be fading the Owls probably in both those games over in California. But we like the Kent State Golden Flashes here. Again, we've picked Kent State twice before. Actually, no, 3 times before here on the channel. We picked them in their opener against Louisiana. We picked them at Cleveland State. We've picked them against Towson. We are 3-0 this season, taking the Kent State Golden Flashes. We like our spots where we take Kent State. And I'm telling you, this is another spot where I do like the Golden Flashes. They are getting 3.5 points, minus 205. Take them both, parlay the money line, do what you want with it. But again, we are taking the Golden Flashes to get things done here against the Kennesaw State Owls. We move on to our next game, and it's the biggest game of the night. Undoubtedly, the Oregon Ducks take on the Alabama Crimson Tide here in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. And we like the Crimson Tide to take care of business and do it pretty easily as well. They're only getting 5.5 points. I think that's a bargain. Oregon is not as good as their record states, guys. Trust me. I get it. They're 7-0. This is not that good of a team. At least not in Alabama. They're not at Alabama's level. They're not. Regardless of where you want to rank Bama, right now they're 9th. Do you really think they're the 9th best team in the country? Maybe. Their only losses on the road at West Lafayette to Purdue, whose only loss in their own right is in Milwaukee against Marquette, right? Purdue had a huge come-from-behind victory in the last 5 minutes of the game yesterday where they went on to beat the Ole Miss Rebels, which we got right, by the way. Now, I don't think they covered the spread, but money line, we got Purdue. Again, I'm not going to take full credit for that victory, but regardless, again, I like the Crimson Tide in the spot. Their only loss is against Purdue. Big win over UNC Asheville, win over Arkansas State, win over McNeese, but then victories over Illinois, Houston, Rutgers recently. Those have been good victories for them. And for the Oregon Ducks, they're led by Nate Biddle. TJ Bamba are going to be the guys leading their team in points. Thing again, with Oregon, I've seen them play this season. I saw them keep Portland around in that basketball game, look horrible at points. I watched them go to Corvallis and looked really bad in the Oregon State game, but like Portland did, Oregon State choked that game away against the Ducks. And sure, yes, Oregon has looked much more impressive in their last 2 basketball games against Texas A&M and San Diego State. That's fine. Bamba led their team in scoring in both those games. Bamba with 18 against A&M and 22 against the Aztecs of San Diego State. I just think Alabama's got the better team. And to be honest with you, I just think Alabama's got better scores. They've got all-around better play. Mark Sears and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. I think are the 2 best players on the court. Obviously, Grant Nelson as well. But I think Mark Sears by far is the best player on this basketball court coming up tonight against Oregon. I believe so. Sears is averaging 17 points tonight. I think he's going to take over this basketball game. Again, as a whole, Alabama is just better. Mark Sears has played lights out so far, like Bamba has, again, for the Ducks, but Sears has just played really well in Vegas so far. 24 points in both the Houston and the Rutgers victories, and again, I cannot understate how big of a victory it is beating number 6 Houston, yes, in overtime, but still winning the game by 5 points. We like the Crimson Tide to take care of business here. Again, I think Oregon's a little bit overrated. I know they're not ranked yet. Obviously, if they beat Bama, they will be in the rankings next week. The record is 7-0, sure, but look at who they beat and how they beat them. Okay, yes, the last 2 victories are great with A&M and San Diego State. Beyond that, though, I'm not sold on the Ducks. Give me the Crimson Tide to take care of business here against Oregon. Roll Tide! We're going with Alabama to cover the 5.5 points and win the game outright. To our final game of the video, we mentioned it earlier, and here it is. We have got the UC Irvine Anteaters taking on Towson here in this tournament, still in Alberta, Canada. It's a 6:30 p.m. start time, and we like UCI to take care of business against Towson. I think they win the game by double digits. Towson so far here in Alberta have lost back-to-back games to the Kent State Golden Flashes and to Kennesaw State, the 2 teams we talked about earlier. Again, yes, they did go to overtime with the Owls, but they ended up losing that basketball game. I've just seen Towson lose too many games this season to give me, confidence to pick the Anteaters in this game. Towson, sure, they had a close game against St. Mary's to start the year, but then got blown out at South Carolina. Came back, beat JMU. Beat Nichols by 6 points, who cares? Beat Morgan State on the road by 4 points up in Baltimore, and then lost back-to-back games again so far in this tournament against Kent State and Kennesaw State. UC Irvine's a way better basketball team. Again, guys, Irvine held Kent State to 39 points yesterday. That's big time. They beat Kennesaw State 76-59. Their wins this season are good wins. UNI, I know we talked down upon Northern Iowa in a couple of recent days, but still, they beat UNI by 20 points. Pepperdine, they beat by 18 points. Weber State beat them by 6. They blew out Chapman. Okay, who cares to beat Chapman? But still, they beat Chapman by 30 points in their first game. Irvine just plays really good defense, and they find ways to outscore you. As a whole, Irvine is a much better team than the Towson Tigers. Again, you don't want to put too much emphasis in just scores, but hear me out. Towson lost by 11 points to Kent State. Kent State could not crack 40 points against the Irvine Anteaters yesterday. How's this game gonna go? I'm serious. Towson, in their own right, already struggles to score. So what's gonna happen when they play one of the better defensive teams and probably the best defensive team they're gonna see in this in this Alberta tournament? Dylan Williamson, their leading scorer with 15 points, and I believe he led them in scoring the other night against Kennesaw. But still, again, this is a Towson team that's lost 2 in a row already here in Alberta. Irvine's won 2-0. There's 2 in a row. They're still undefeated. They're 7-0. Think about it. Who's going to win this basketball game and who's going to dominate the basketball game? Irvine is playing to go 3-0 in this tournament. Towson is playing to not go 0-3. I'm going to take the team that's already won 2 in a row, the team that's already beat the 2 teams Towson's lost to in this tournament, and beat the teams that Towson beat fairly easily in Kennesaw and Kent State. I mean, Irvine, again, has not played a competitive game yet here in this tournament or this invitational in Alberta. They're a really good team who have by far to be the favorites in the Big West. Hopefully the beach of Long Beach State doesn't pull something out their ass like they did last year. Again, Irvine should be tournament bound this year, man. And I think they just got to execute and get it done. I mean, who's going to beat this team in the Big West this season? I'm serious. UCSB, maybe? Hawaii, I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I know their only loss is UNC. I don't think Hawaii's as good, especially when they have to go overseas. Obviously, just with the travel, it makes it really hard on Hawaii to win the Big West. Cal State Northridge isn't doing anything. UCSD, no. Cal State Bakersfield, no. Riverside doesn't do anything right, just in general. UC Riverside is just Riverside doesn't do anything well. Next. Cal Poly, no. Davis, no. Cal State Fullerton, no, and the Beach have been absolutely horrible with Devin Askew this season. So yeah, I think Irvine has to beat the favorites to win the Big West. I'd expect them to get it done, and obviously I expect them to blow out Towson here tonight. They'll cover the 9.5 points, and again, we should be cashing late night here with the UC Irvine Anteaters. If you want, a safer play, hell, could just go Irvine money line, Bama money line. That could probably get you like minus 150-ish. I don't know, throw in Duke football that starts in an hour, then boom, you got yourself a parlay. I don't know. I'm just putting stuff together. I'm not actually going to play that. I did play, real quick before I get off here, if you want something early morning for football, if you didn't watch the college football video, which you should if you didn't, but I'll give it to you anyway. I parlayed, maybe this hits, hopefully it does. Duke and Illinois. That gets me to plus 100. I mean, Illinois is not losing against Northwestern, and Duke's not losing at Wake Forest. I'm just saying, even if Malik Murphy doesn't play, that's plus 100. That feels like free money in the morning. All right, I'm going to sleep through it. I'm going to wake up and hopefully wake up to some cash. Regardless, give me the Anteaters to beat Towson. And folks, thank y'all for watching our daily best bets here for college basketball here on November 30th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment. If you do disagree with any of the picks, folks, thank y'all for watching. And Mamba, forever.